There are many redstone clocks in Minecraft. Those clocks can be fast, slow, and depending on preference, look very different. So what are redstone clocks? How do they work? What can I use them for? These questions are going to be answered in this video, so stay till the end to find out. So let's dive in and explore the many redstone clocks there are in Minecraft. Redstone clocks are signals that repeat in a loop, meaning as soon as the input is activated, the cycle starts. So let's just start with the simplest redstone clock here. I think everybody knows this design, just 2 repeaters, redstone, and you're done. This one also is very fast. You can also, of course, hook up more repeaters to that clock to slow down the signal. Before I get ahead of myself, just let me explain something real quick. The input is something that sends a signal, like a button, a lever, or a pressure plate or something. And the output, which in this case would be here, for example, is something that receives the redstone signal, for example, a lamp or something. So just when I say input or output in this video, think about it like this. Input turns on, output does something. So the output for these clocks can be anywhere on the clock, here, 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 here. It doesn't really matter, you can put it anywhere. Same thing here, it doesn't matter. On any side of the redstone dust basically. Now some of you might have made this mistake and built this clock with comparators instead of repeaters. Now set up like this clock is an imposter. No, but in all seriousness, this is a pulse extender. As you can see, if I activate the signal and then deactivate it, it takes a little longer for the signal to deactivate at the end. So this is used for extending redstone signals, not really for redstone clocks. So let's get on with the next clock. Now the next design is probably one of the oldest designs, since it doesn't even use repeaters. And as you can see, the signal is too fast for the redstone torches to handle, so they are put out by the fast redstone cycle. So what we can do is just replace the redstone dust with repeaters like this. And as you can see, after a while, now it actually keeps going without getting turned off. So this is pretty helpful. It's just a little bit bigger than the other redstone clocks, but might have some uses in certain situations if you want to build this. So the input is just placing and replacing the torch if it gets stuck, and the output here is basically on every block. Just like with the redstone clocks from before, you can put the output wherever you want to. Hey everybody, Editing Wiki here. I just wanted to say, if you liked the video so far, consider subscribing, as it's free and it helps out my channel a lot. And it motivates me, of course. Alright, let's continue. Now, the next clock looks kind of complicated, but actually isn't. It's just a repeater clock that you can switch on and off with this lever. Just as you can see, the block gets pushed over, which activates the whole cycle. And now you can put anything you want here to the output. So just the input being the switch and the ability to switch the clock on and off, which is pretty handy in my opinion. Now the next clock is one of the fastest clocks I've got. It can't even be activated by a lever. You need a redstone torch. So just place the redstone torch and the whole thing gets started. This thing is a 10 Hz clock, which means it activates 10 times a second. This is so fast that some of the redstone components we have in Minecraft don't even realize that this signal gets turned on and off. I mean, hell, look at it. You can even see that it just looks like it would be on constantly. But if we take a note block and place it, dinner's ready. Yeah, you can see that this thing is pretty fast. And it also works with doors and command blocks. The next redstone clock is also a pretty nice and simple design. It just works by repeating the signal from the torch to the repeater with a 4 delay to the block, and then it gets repeated by the redstone dust back to the torch. So this just goes in a circle, and you can take the output from the redstone dust over here, or you can even take it from the torch over here, so it doesn't matter. And for the last design, we've got this vertical clock, which has a width of only 1 block. Might be handy in some cases, and you can just build it very simple. You just need a 1 block delay so that the torch doesn't run out. And then as you can see, you can take the output from here or from here, it doesn't matter. Now, next up, we're going to talk about subtraction clocks. Now, what are these clocks? These are clocks which use a comparator and use its subtract feature. Now, if you don't know about the subtract feature, you can watch my short I did about the comparator, where I explain it in detail. But to explain it shortly, the comparator takes the signal that it has from the front and subtracts it from the signal coming in from the side, which in this case is 14. So basically, 15 minus 14 now equals 1. The comparator now outputs a signal strength of 1, which means it is not enough to reach the comparator side. As you can see, 1, and then this redstone dust wouldn't be powered anymore. So now we have 1 minus 0 is 1, and this just resets the comparator and it goes back to 0. And this is the reason why this redstone dust always jumps between 14 and 0, as you can see on the power tab here on this side. You can also build the comparator clock like this with a redstone dust instead of a redstone block. It works the same way, just that the signal strength here is 13 instead of 14, but essentially it works the same. Next up, we have the subtraction N clock, which is basically a clock that you can customize. So each delay on the repeater increases the delay of the clock. So now we have the repeater set to 1 tick, which means that we have a delay of 2 ticks on the clock. If we set it to 2 ticks, we have a delay of 3 ticks and so on and so forth. So if I set it to 3, for example, you can already see that the signal is a lot slower. So next up we got the pulsars. This one is a 29 pulsar, which means the signal gets repeated every 29 ticks or almost 3 seconds. So if we switch this lever over here, we can see that we have this little comparator clock we already saw in the beginning over here. And this comparator clock just repeats its signal, gets weaker over time. And as you can see, every time that the comparator clock deactivates, the torch reactivates the comparator clock, and this is generating the repeated signal you can see here on the output side. And we got a similar pulsar over here, which is a 9 pulsar, so every 9 ticks or almost a second. And it has a pretty similar concept. As you can see, it repeats the signal a little bit faster than the other one, but it pretty much has the same effect or the same concept, and the output is over here. Now we're going to talk about hopper clocks. So hopper clocks basically work because there are 2 hoppers or more hoppers that are facing each other, and there is an item or more items that circle between these 2 hoppers. And this circling we can detect by using a comparator. So as you can see, there is one item in here, one stone item, and the comparator detects this update, as you can see here. Now we can lock this rotation by powering one of the hoppers, which locks it so that no item can flow to the other hopper. So now, as you can see, the signal stopped. Now next up we got the N hopper clock, which basically just circles the items in those hoppers. So if I put 5 items in here, for each item that is in the system, the comparator activates the redstone signal for 0.4 seconds. So if we have 5 items in here, the redstone signal will be activated for 2 seconds. So now if we remove all of these items, we can talk about the limits. So the limit of this circle is how many hoppers you put into the system. So we have 8 hoppers right now, so the limit is 7. Because what happens if I put 8 stone into the system? You can see the comparator won't turn off at all. It stays on all the time because every second there is one item in each of the hoppers, so the comparator will be activated all the time. Now, if you're building in creative and want to do it a little bit simpler, we can just use this command here, which sets the transfer cooldown of this hopper to 200 ticks or 10 seconds. So the item that is inside of this hopper will only be transferred to the other hopper every 10 seconds instead of the normal 8 ticks or 0.4 seconds. And you can set this value however you want. We could, for example, do 2000 ticks and have 100 seconds or 1 minute and 40 seconds to be exact, and have a longer cooldown. So this is pretty much highly configurable. Now next up we got the EHC. According to the Minecraft wiki, it was made by Ethos Lab and therefore it's called EHC, but you can call it however you like. And it's actually pretty simple. It just has more items flowing through these 2 hoppers. These 2 comparators just track how many items are in the hopper. The redstone dust powers the piston, and the redstone block just locks each hopper so the items stop until they are completely in one hopper, and then only they start to flow into the other one. And as you can see, your outputs are over here. Now you can put as many items as you like in here as long as there's a little bit space left over, but you can make this delay pretty long, as you can see. Now with a few stacks of redstone dust, it takes way longer for the redstone block to switch. There are about 1 million different variations of DHC, so if you want to find out more about DHC, you can find everything on the Minecraft wiki. Link will be in the description. So the next clock is the REDSTONE latch hopper clock, which sounds incredibly complicated, but don't worry. It's basically the same hopper setup like in the beginning. We got the 2 hoppers which cycle the items, the comparators which test whether there are items inside of the hopper, and then we got a little bit of redstone that just goes in a circle and locks the hopper, as well as just sends the signal to this side and after the next rotation to this side. So we got 2 outputs basically with 1 hopper clock. And depending on the amount of items you put into the hopper, you can set the delay from 8 ticks to 265 seconds, or about 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Now the next one is basically the same build, just 1 block wide. So maybe if you have to build it inside of a very narrow wall or something, you would have a alternative to the first one. So basically it just has the same function as the other one, just the hopper clock here and the 2 comparators which test how many items are in each hopper, and you have 2 outputs, just like with the flat one. And this clock has a pretty similar setup, just with 2 floors basically. So the lower hopper pair has just 1 item that circles around, and the upper hopper pair has 8 items that circle around. And as you can see, this also has 2 outputs, so this is just another variant of the other ones. Just a little bit simpler. And now we've got a hopper clock that goes around. As you can see, I've just put some redstone lamps here so you can see it a little bit better. It's actually very simple. You just put 1 item into this hopper system and have the comparators around with a little bit of space between, and I think this is pretty self-explanatory really. I'll just show it from above. You can hook anything up to this thing, so pretty cool design in my opinion. Now this design by Sethbling looks pretty similar to the other one, only that it has repeaters that face in the opposite way of the comparators all around, and this redstone dust which goes to a block where the redstone lamps sit on, and it basically just locks the hoppers so the items have time to flow through. Because in this circle here we have 16 items right now. We could of course put more items there to make the delay greater in comparison to this circle which only has 1 item that flows through all the time. So with this redstone clock you can make it a little slower, but you have 2 outputs active at a time, as you can see here. Okay, so now we'll continue with the clocks that are a little bit weird but work somehow. So let me show you. First up we got the dropper despawn clock, which basically just works by dropping an item into a little containment chamber where a wooden pressure plate is. So let's just activate it for now. And you can see the item is on the wooden pressure plate, which deactivates the redstone clock. But as soon as the item despawns, the mechanism activates and a new item is dropped. Well, now in this case I collected the items, so it didn't even work, but let me just redo that. There we go. And now if I pick up the item real quick, you can see that a new item gets ejected and the cycle starts anew. So this is pretty handy if you are somewhere near this contraption and need a 5-minute timer. Really handy. And a similar concept can be done in creative mode with a command block, with this command which just summons an item right on top of the pressure plate. So if I flick the lever, we get this stone item once again, and as soon as it despawns, the pressure plate will deactivate, which will activate the torch, which will activate the command, which will summon the item. I think you've got it by now, but this is basically the whole thing with a command block. Now, this is by far the strangest redstone clock I've ever seen. It uses a command which just sets the block above it with a redstone block and destroys the block that was there before. So basically we just create a loop by destroying the redstone block over and over again, which activates this redstone dust very fast. So important to keep in mind here is to set the game rule from the do tiles drop. I'll just show it to you guys. To set this game rule to false, or else you'll have millions of redstone block items within seconds. And the next game rule that would be good to disable would be the command block output rule, or your chat will get spammed. And the last game rule would be the log admin commands if you're on a server, or else your server log will get spammed. So these 3 game rules, keep them in mind before you do this. And if you're ready, just set the command, place a block, and there you'll have the fun. So this is the output obviously, and what did I hear? Dinner's ready? Oh, and to activate it, just power the redstone block from the side and it'll stop. And then you can break it, by the way. Next up, we've got this little weird piston redstone clock, which just works by disrupting the signal with the block that the piston pushes in front here. As you can see, the redstone signal gets deactivated for a really short time, which gives us our output here. So this is a very weird redstone clock, but the problem is if we deactivate it, we can't reactivate it. As you can see, now it doesn't work. So we would have to replace the block each time. But I have a solution. With this design and a second piston, by the way, this was a sticky piston, and this is a sticky piston too. But with a second piston that is non-sticky, we can move the block forwards and backwards and disrupt the signal and have the same effect as before. So this is pretty effective. As you can see, we get our signal right here. And then we've got a smaller version of this piston clock, which is a little bit smarter. We deactivate this redstone dust, which activates the torch, which activates the piston as well as the redstone dust. And as soon as the block is in front of here, the redstone dust sends the redstone signal straight through the repeater and to the torch, which deactivates it and then starts the cycle anew. So this is just a very simple redstone clock, and it's a little bit slower than the other ones too. And now we've got a 1-tick piston clock, which means that the redstone signal this machine outputs is only 1 tick long, so 1/20th of a second. And as you can see, that is really fast. So this just works by moving the piston very fast. Now this is a similar concept, but very much simplified. As you can see, you just have to place redstone dust here and have a similar clock where you could take your output right from here. The only problem being with this redstone clock is that it's kinda unreliable. You sometimes have this situation and then you can't restart it, so this is kind of difficult. And you have to break and replace the redstone dust. You can't do this with a lever or something, so this is a little bit smaller, but a lot more unreliable. Now this is definitely one of the weirdest clocks I've seen. I mean, why would anyone do this? But I guess there is some use for it. I mean, it's very noisy for sure, but I think this is pretty self-explanatory at this point. Moving on. Now, once again, a redstone clock with 2 outputs. Just place 2 observers facing each other. And then, okay. And then you're done. This is everything you need. Just put some redstone dust to it or whatever you need, and you have 2 outputs, which are also really fast, by the way. And now, last but not least, this is, again, a really simple clock. I don't even know why I put it here, but you can just toggle it with a lever to keep it switched off, or you can keep going with it. Now let me show you all of the things you can do with redstone clocks. Now, the first farm is pretty good for survival farms, especially in early game. So you just have a dispenser full of bone meal, and we hook that up to a comparator clock, and then we get an easy, fast early game farm. As you can see, we can pretty quickly farm the wheat right here. Next up, we got this really nice floor design, maybe for a nightclub or something, I don't know, but it's pretty cool using observers. And the clock we're using is this very simple item hopper clock, so just one item that circles around, and we got this nice little look, which we can expand infinitely. And my last idea for today is this wheat farm that will get washed over by all of these dispensers that got the water buckets inside of them. And we got the AHC clock, which has a lot of items inside, as you can see, and any minute now we should see all of the items get washed over. So let me just fast forward a little bit. And there we go. All of the wheat gets flushed over, and then we can build some system that collects all of the items down here, but that's just the base idea. There are of course a lot more ideas and hundreds or thousands of ideas and things you can build with redstone clocks. What was your favorite redstone clock? And did I miss any important redstone clocks? Let me know in the comments down below. This is now the longest video I've made so far on this channel, and if you stuck with me till the end, thank you. This video took hours to make, so I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and consider subscribing to support the channel and not miss future content. Anyways, the most important thing I've got to say is stay curious.